everybody. Happy Thursday, May 15th already. Can't believe it. We've been struggling with some rain here for the past couple weeks, but hopefully the sun comes out soon and it's going to be summertime before we know it. So, as you know, for those of us who join us regularly, we have a weekly live show on Thursdays at 11 o'clock at this time. So excited to have you here. For the newcomers we have, my name is Robert O'Keefe. I'm the creator of Over 55 NJ and the founder of Rock Real Estate here in Red Bank. And what we do and what we specialize in is helping seniors plan detailed relocation plans from soup to nuts. We love getting people in their research phase. We just talked to a few people yesterday. They're just thinking about getting ready, so it's very common. And this is the place to be. This is the place where you can ask questions. This is the place where you don't have to feel pressured. This is the place where you can explore all your options, whether that be staying in New Jersey, to moving out of state, to potentially moving out of the country. We want to hear from you and we want to hear what you're interested in. We want to hear about some of the problems and challenges that you're facing. If you need to reach us, our email address is over55nj@gmail.com. And we're always a quick direct message away. My email is, again, over55nj@gmail.com, where you can reach out to us directly or just send us a direct message. We're not hard to find, as they say these days. Now, speaking of challenges, today we're going to be talking about a challenge and kind of uncover and unpack why a lot of seniors struggle to move. A lot of times we work too with millennial um, children of seniors that are just basically trying to get their senior parents to move and downsize out of a property. And sometimes you may have some challenges yourself moving in this respect. And let's not sugarcoat it. Moving is a lot of work. It's a lot of just like steps to just upend your whole life. You may be very used to your home. You have a lot of memories there, which we'll unpack as well. All your doctors could be nearby. Essentially, you're just moving your whole life, literally, to a new place. So let's not sneeze at it. It's pretty in depth and it's pretty extensive. Just moving your life from one place to another. So we're going to go and unpack some reasons why that is, and we're going to give you some tools and strategies, most importantly, to kind of help move the ball along and help you get thinking about downsizing. Because as you see, there's a lot of benefits to doing so. Now, the first thing we'll go into is the psychology. People just say, okay, we're going to downsize. I was speaking to someone today moving from Bayonne, and she was talking to me about her brother who just pretty much picked up his bags and left and bought the place. Didn't do much research on it, but he was fine and he was fine with the move. Some people are like that, where they could just pick up their bags, downsize, and live in a new place. A lot of people like to plan things out, like her. She was a planner, which we love, and we love getting her that early in her planning stage. She's probably a year or two out from moving, which is pretty common for individuals that reach out to us. But there's some people that could just move like her brother. There's some people that really need to think about it and do their research, and that's what we help with. And don't get me wrong, too. If you want to move right away, there's people that reach out to us that know what they want, and we can help them with that. But the reality is I would say about 80% of the time, you really have to be thinking about this and also planning where you want to move. That's pretty common for many people that reach out to us. So it's really not that easy just to sell and downsize. And many retirees delay until there could be potential side effects to doing so. So the first thing that we'll look into and unpack is the emotional anchors. So it's very challenging for a lot of people to move the house that they settled in, that they have many fond memories in, that they raised their children in, that they have all their fond memories in, and basically having their kids' birthday parties, packing up their lunch, taking their kids to school. Some people even grew up in the house that they were living in, which I spoke to one person this week where she just grew up in the house and she absolutely loves it there, but she wants to downsize. So you really can't diminish just the psychological comfort and all the great memories of your home. There's a psychology principle, and that we see it all the time, that once you get into your new place, the human body and the human mind has a remarkable ability to adjust and just start getting into the flow of life as you get busier. It could even be exciting in many cases. So you want to embrace that feeling and you want to lay into that feeling. And you can see in a lot of cases, change can be good from what you currently have. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing that could be helpful is throwing out some old belongings, getting rid of some stuff, and start packing up little by little. This kind of gets you into a psychological like momentum of moving. And once you get the ball rolling, you'll be surprised how easy it is just to keep the ball rolling and keep going. And let's say if you decide not to, if you want to stay, that's a lot of we'll cover that as well. We'll cover the benefits of doing so. Then that's an interesting situation as well, where you could just pretty much pack up your stuff and stay in your home. So it's not really so you really want to like be aware of the emotional stress, if you will. Again, some people are not stressed at all. They can just pack up and move. Some people are very used to it. Some people are pretty much scared to move. They see how expensive everything is. So one of the things to counteract that is just to run the numbers based on what you're paying now in your monthly taxes, your monthly overhead. Maybe you have a monthly cleaning service. Maybe you have a high monthly utility bill, and just compare that with a 55 plus community, and that can kind of alleviate the fears by putting it on paper and pencil. Um, Good practice too is just to talk things out. We're happy to serve as a resource for you. We connected with a customer this week who was basically talking the whole move out to us. You can see she was thinking about this stuff a lot, and she basically was talking to me for about 5 minutes and talking about her whole plan and what's keeping her in her house, what she wants to do with it, how she wants her house to go to a nice family. And you can see at the end of the conversation, it was very alleviating for her. So you're welcome to call us on that. You can book a chat at over55nj.chat and get on our calendar for a call. But I would even just do this to yourself. Just talk it out. Say a prayer. Prayer has a lot of alleviating benefits as well. Or get a yellow paper and just write it down, and just write down what you're feeling and get it out of your head. That will get the emotions to stop swirling. And once you have a plan and like kind of like an idea, it can be very comforting in many cases. Because again, we can't diminish the emotional attachment, and we have to kind of put a label to it to kind of diminish that fear in some cases. Now, the next thing, and a perfect lead in, is let's talk about the financial traps that nobody talks about when downsizing. So, whenever you sell an investment, it's called the tax that the United States will charge is called a capital gains tax. So, the capital gains tax is when you sell an investment. Could be a stock, could be a Bitcoin, could be an investment property. So many seniors will try and stay in their home so the home doesn't incur a capital gains tax, because when you pass away, basically the home goes what's called a step up in basis. And then when your home goes to probate, basically the capital gains is wiped out from that stance. But what a lot of people don't know is that if you occupy your home, you qualify for what's called the capital gains exemption. And again, we have to be careful here. We're not financial advisors. We always recommend you talk to a CPA or a financial advisor, but we can give you like a little overview of what this is all about. And pretty much the capital gains exemption is the caveat is if you're living in the home for the past 2 years, there's an exemption up to a certain amount in capital gains. So for a single family, that exemption is 250,000. For a married couple, that's 500,000. And the way to look at it is the capital gains taxes usually hovers around 15%. So anything more than let's say if you're a single person, anything more than a $250,000 gain is taxed at 15%. So, a lot of cases, it's pretty nominal from that exemption standpoint. We talk to people too that have only been in their house a year, for example, and we say, why don't you just stay another year and get the capital gains exemption? And then the property will go up. Properties are going up like crazy in New Jersey. You should have a little bit of appreciation as well. So, there is that alleviation there from the capital gains. So, if you're selling an investment property, you want to be aware of that. We recommend a lot of times a 1031 if you have a rental property that you want to sell to help with your downsizing in. And we can recommend a lot of strategies doing a 1031 exchange. That's a whole nother topic. It may not be appropriate for our niche here, but you could pretty much trade up and then trade into a higher unit property and hire a property manager to have less maintenance. So that's kind of what we help people plan for as well, to avoid those capital gains taxes. When you're buying real estate, you always want to be cognizant of the taxes you pay. Taxes are always going to be our biggest expense. So you always want to minimize those taxes and be aware of it. And real estate's kind of funny. A lot of times people get hit with taxes and they don't realize it till the end, till the transaction's done by April 15th time. So we definitely want you to be aware of that. We definitely plan ahead for that. And we look at your individual situation. If you have an asset you want to sell, we give you the net sheet breakdown of exactly what you're going to net. So that's an exercise we do for a lot of people as well. Is we just basically take your property, we kind of give an estimation based on what the property is worth, and we can pretty much break it down what you're going to net from the sale of the property and your potential tax liability. So very, very useful when it comes to downsizing, just to know what you're coming away with. The lady we were talking to today, she couldn't believe what her property was worth, and pretty much we're just going through the math with her where she could just buy her property outright, her next 55 plus community, and still have $200,000 in the bank. So it's a very strong position to be in, and you just want to know every situation's different, and we want to advise you properly on that. So again, we encourage you to reach out ahead of time so we can plan for these things. Now, another thing where we run into is the physical barriers, where sometimes the home does not fit your physical body anymore. Maybe the most common instance is obviously stairs. Maybe you have a huge property line. Maybe you have to park your car outside and travel in um, into the house and navigate kind of like a snowy driveway. I was laughing yesterday because I was carrying my son. I have a 2-year-old, and like he was thrashing in my arms. He wanted to get down. I was saying goodbye to my parents. I almost slipped and almost fell straight on my back, but I caught myself. It was raining yesterday, so it happens to the best of us too. But especially as you get older, you may not be able to catch yourself if you lose your balance like that. I was able to catch myself, but you just have to think about these things, and you have to think about kind of like as you age, and kind of like there's a great quote that I love. One of my favorite quotes, Wayne Gretzky, is you want to skate where the puck is going, and you want to think ahead for these things because as you age, you don't know what your body is going to do and how your body is going to react. I just read an article about Warren Buffett today in the Wall Street Journal, and he was saying his body has been getting a little wobbly. And so he quipped, like, how do you know you're getting old? Well, you don't know, but you feel it. And then all of a sudden it could just happen to you where you just said, oh, I was feeling my age. I'm ready to step down from Berkshire Hathaway. So it's kind of a funny thing where you just want to be planning ahead. And even before your body breaks down, even before these physical barriers arise, you want to be planning ahead for the next chapter. Last week I was taking a couple out in Shadow Lake, and they said, we don't want anybody above us. We don't want any sound. We just hear the person upstairs. They were telling me a story about their neighbor in their Massachusetts apartment above them was a professional tap dancer. And so this person was tap dancing literally above their heads. So you just have to think about that. But also, what I encouraged them to do was just think ahead. Like, let's say your body, let's say you can't make it up those stairs anymore. So Shadow Lake is set up where there's some units above the other unit. It's pretty common sometimes in 55 plus communities. So I would encourage them to like think ahead. Let's say if you're in great shape, Lord willing, maybe you want to get a first floor unit, or maybe you want to invest a little bit more and have a single family where there's nobody above you with no stairs at all. So you always want to think ahead and just be cognizant of your physical barriers, especially if you're in a big house, especially if you're alone. You never know what's going to happen and what's going to come around the pipeline, especially as we age. Now, one of my favorite topics is the systems that fail us. And what do I mean by systems? Could be a roof, could be an air conditioner, could be in the situation where someone had to pay a big legal bill. In this case, her parents died. She's staying in her house she grew up in, and she can't find the will to her parents' house. So pretty much what happens in that case is you have to file the estate intestate, which requires a bond to post, which is pretty much a significant amount of money that a lot of people just don't have. So you want to think about these. You want to think about like how old your systems are in your house, the water heater, the air conditioning system, the furnace, most importantly, the roof. That could be a big expense. And just kind of see like, hey, it might be worth it just kind of liquidating this before this big expense comes, because these expenses are all out of pocket. You may be able to get a loan, but the expense could be significant. And you may just be able to sell your house and just leave it for the next buyer. Most people, when they buy a house, if the roof's not leaking during a home inspection, they just move forward anyway, especially these young millennial buyers that, one, are not cognizant of that, number one, but two, the competition is so strong where they just move forward anyway. And three, if the roof is fine, let's say if the roof is 18, 20 years old and nearing the end of its useful life, if it's not leaking, you don't have to replace that home during the home inspection. You can say, hey, the roof's working fine. But let's say another couple of years, you could be out 20 grand for that roof. So you want to take an inventory of basically the systems in your house. We actually have a great spreadsheet for that where you can just log in the make and model of your appliances, of pretty much everything that you have, your roof, your appliances, your systems. And so if you want to copy that spreadsheet, just write copy in the comments and we're happy to send you a copy. We call it the property control sheet where you can just take a note of everything. My HVAC contractor actually gave me an app where you can actually scan the what do you call it, the serial number of your system, and it'll be able to tell you how old it is. So if you want help with that, please feel free to reach out. We can just kind of take an inventory of your systems. But that's kind of like something that no one sees coming. It's a bit frustrating because it just goes right away in some cases, pretty much right when you need it. Our garbage disposal went a couple weeks ago, and like, man, once your garbage disposal goes, you miss it. So you want to get that replaced ASAP. So these things just go unexpectedly. You miss them right away, and then you tend to want to replace them right away. So if your house is getting older, if your house keeps breaking down, it may be worth it to skate where the puck is going. Um, Again, bringing up that theme and just getting ahead of it and start planning ahead even before you think you're ready. Now, the last question is the freedom, how to actually break free. So, strategic planning. This is something we actually specialize in. So, we encourage you to reach out. We can take an inventory of your home's value. We can start planning ahead. We always want to begin with the end in mind and just go over your criteria, the location you want to be in, and just kind of go over what these things cost, what your potential monthly payment would be, and kind of work backwards from there. So that's really the first step is to reach out in advance. We encourage that. Again, email us at over55nj@gmail.com and we can set up a no pressure, absolute no pressure consultation call where we can set you up on searches and just go over what you're looking for. And then you can start small, just doing what we spoke about, starting to declutter, start modeling out your finances, taking an inventory of your systems, and just kind of seeing what you feel is best. You may want to organize your medical records as well, get a physical, and just kind of assess what kind of shape you're in because everybody's different. That's what's kind of exciting and worthwhile about our business is every person is unique, and we love connecting with you and just going over each individual situation where we can just kind of go and start putting the individual plan together. So how to break free. You may not want to break free. You may just want to stay there, but you should at least be you should at least be thinking about these things. And the way to break free is just through careful planning and just going step by step, and then just talking to people, getting these things out of your head, planning ahead. And like I said, if you're thinking about this, if you're planning ahead, you've come to the right place here. We're always here as a resource for you. Now we're going to take some questions and answers as always, and then we'll send you off on your rainy Thursday. I love talking about this stuff. So, question one: if you buy a home and it's currently assessed at one price and taxed on that assessment, does that assessment go up after you purchase it at a higher rate, or does that affect the property tax for you going forward? So, you buy a home and taxed at that assessment. Does that assessment go out after you purchase it? So not always. Every town assesses differently. Um, I started my career in Hudson County, and Jersey City hadn't assessed their properties in 30, 40 years. And then one day they just hit everybody with an assessment. Basically, the politicians were holding back the assessments to essentially curry favor and stay in power. So every town is a bit different in that respect. Some towns kind of assess by area. Some towns do it all at once. Some kind of watch the market and see what properties are trading. So we can kind of give you some insight on that. A lot of times with the 55 plus communities, these towns aren't in school districts that require a lot of tax revenue. So a lot of times, in many cases, you're safeguarded from that respect. We can kind of give you some insight and just work backwards from where you're looking for. But this is a great question. This is very common. So in a sense, every town is different. It really depends on which town you're looking in. Next question. How do you know what the HOA really covers? Every development is different. Um, yeah, so generally speaking, they cover maintenance, they cover a budget, Think of every HOA as a business, and every small different business is different. That's why this question is very insightful because every development is different. So think of the HOA as the revenue coming into the business. The revenue will cover general upkeep. It will cover snow removal in many cases. It will cover cutting the grass. It will cover like renovations to the clubhouse. So in my tour last week in Shadow Lake, we're going to have some videos for you on it, just so you can kind of see inside Shadow Lake. There was a huge ballroom renovation that was going on. So many of the budgets go into many of the budget dollars go into what's called a capital reserve, where communities will put some money aside. They'll siphon off, maybe it's 5-10% into a budget where essentially there could be future renovation projects. And then very important too is you want to see the HOA budget go into the reserve. So to answer your question too is before we purchase, we get a copy of the HOA's budget to make sure we know where the money is going, whether that's the maintenance, we make sure they have a reserve budget. And then we actually look at the balance sheet too to make sure they have enough money in reserves. So that way, if something fails, if there's a catastrophe in some respects, that you're not at risk for future assessments. So, long story short, we take a look at that. Every HOA is different, and we definitely take a look at the balance sheet and the budget before we purchase. How do you how what what do you say to adult children who pressure their parents to stay because they can't let go of the home? There's a there's a great I'm laughing. There's a great episode on this called From Parenthood, one of my favorite shows, where Dax Shepard is just like giving his mom a hard time, and she basically puts him in his place. Basically saying, "Oh, we take care of your kids. Some kids are still live here in this house." It's a great show. You got to watch it, but. Um, every family is different. So, at the risk of, I don't want to give the wrong advice here, but I would say I would just give the practical reasons first. I remember when my grandparents were selling their home, I had so many great memories there, and I didn't want them to sell, but they basically stated the practical reasons. It's too big for us. We want to be closer to you guys. Another family may need the house. I was speaking to another person today where she was saying, I want to be in a 55 plus. The taxes are high for me, and I just want this house going to a nice family. So I would just go with the practical reasons. Usually that should do it, but at the end of the day, it's your property and your decision pretty much. So I would just go into the practical reasons and have a very practical conversation from there. Why do so many retirees assume they'll downsize into something cheaper and end up shocked by the real costs? So this comes from improper planning. So real estate right now is very expensive. You'll be surprised at what your home is worth. We just did one in Oakland. This millennial buyer just paid up to 1.275 million for the house, and we had to beat out some cash offers. So you'll be surprised how much your home is worth if you're looking to buy into into a 55 plus community. They tend to be much less expensive than an average home, and the reason that is only 55 plus people can purchase these homes. So they tend to be a lot cheaper from this standpoint. But real estate as a whole in New Jersey, it's a great state to own real estate in. There's a strong demand. People stay here. Relatively safe from natural disasters, relatively safe in general by the coast, great restaurants, great schools for millennial buyers. So there's just so many great things about New Jersey, and the supply and demand is so high where we just anticipate future growth for our state. So strong place to buy in, and that's kind of how you get around that psychologically. That it's a great place to own real estate in. It's more expensive than other states, but as my mother-in-law says, we have everything in New Jersey. So there's a lot of people that want to be here, and it's a great place to own real estate in. Is it more cost effective to renovate a two-story home for aging in place or to move? And how do you calculate that? Yes, this is another great question. So it really depends on running the numbers. So I was working with this woman and she wanted to move a washer dryer. This is just recently today, actually. She wanted to move a washer dryer into one of the units. And we basically just did some numbers on the potential rent it could accrue from doing that. And it just didn't make sense in relation to the construction costs, in relations to the higher water bill. I recommended that she push this off until she does a bigger renovation, just so she can decide to put it in then. And that way, the renovation like kind of like flows into each other with moving the pipes, with renovating the kitchen, and that nature. But the point of that story is every house is different. It may make sense to renovate the kitchen. It may make sense just to leave it, leave some meat on the bone, what we call it, for another buyer. We invested in a syndication in Houston, and the syndicator, a brilliant guy, actually leaves some units not renovated just to leave that upside for the next buyer. I was working with another millennial buyer. He was saying, I'm very picky about what I want. I'd actually prefer something where the kitchen isn't renovated so I can make my own customizations. So if there's a strong ROI to be had, we can definitely run the numbers for you. But the last thing you want to do is just to start renovating some things before you start running the numbers, before you get an idea of baseline of what you can sell your home as is. You really want to run the numbers and be smart. And then we can go into the calculation for you on that. What happens when zoning laws and HOAs block the very type of housing seniors need? So there's a lot of them, a lot of HOA, and there's a lot of 55 plus communities in New Jersey. The newer ones tend to be more expensive, so they are out there, and a lot of they are being built all over New Jersey. But New Jersey has a very they're very focused on incentivizing seniors to stay. There's the New Jersey Save program that's going to come out next year, um, and there's a lot of great programs for seniors. So I wouldn't like really worry about the zoning laws. And in fact, there's tons of HOA units in senior communities up for sale. You can actually look on our site over 55nj.homes to see the active inventory. But we see them being built pretty frequently. My sweet spot is I recommend buying something that's already existing. Many of these communities are pretty young. They were built in the 60s or 70s. So not really necessary to get new construction. You're definitely going to pay a higher premium for that. You can get a great deal and a great opportunity in something that might be a little bit older in the 60s or 70s, but let's say a renovated unit in that is going to be much more cost effective than a new construction unit. That being said, if you want new construction, we can definitely put together a list for you. But that's just kind of like the overview there. And I think New Jersey as a whole is very progressive about building housing for people, especially seniors. We see a lot of them going up in a lot of places. Are government support programs actually helping seniors move? Give some examples. Government support programs. I'm not sure if there's one that helps them or incentivizes them to move. In fact, I would argue the opposite, where with the anchor tax, with the senior freeze, that basically rebates your property taxes. And now the new program that's set to pass next year, where senior property taxes are slashed. I would say that New Jersey is incentivizing seniors to stay. I would say, from my understanding, there is a tax upon leaving New Jersey. I would have to just double check that, where there could be like an incentive, like for them to keep seniors here. But I would say this is a tough question. I haven't really seen like a lot of government programs trying to get seniors to move. I would just say the opposite, where seniors are encouraged to stay based on all the incentives they're getting. Now, why that is, that may be a topic for more research in another video. If I was running this state, candidly, I would incentivize young millennials, young Gen Z families to move here. The reason is they have there's a huge runway with their income and their work history to tackle. Many seniors are retiring. So, with that huge runway and that huge future work history, there's going to be a lot of tax revenue there. So, really not that keen on the strategy there. The one thing I could think of and surmise is they want to keep the pension money in New Jersey for a lot of the senior pensions just to collect tax revenue on that. But if I was in government, which I'm not, thank God, I would just kind of focus on the opposite, just to get more younger families in. But New Jersey has a lot of great programs for seniors to stay, which is great, and which we focus on. We help people to capitalize on. But great question. Yeah. So to answer the question, there's a lot of programs to incentivize seniors to stay rather than to get them to move. So that's kind of the gist of it there. So that was our last question. That was a good one. Lots of great questions. Again, we really appreciate everyone for coming on. We're here to help you and we're here to serve as a resource for you. So again, we encourage you to get in touch well in advance. Our motto is great real estate planning is done in advance. So happy to consult with you. Happy just to go over, answer all your questions. Our email is over55nj@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. If you want some topics you want covered, feel free to ask. I guarantee you someone has that question as well. So we're happy to do the research ahead of time and just go over this topic in a higher detail. And if you have a question on your individual situation, maybe you want a net estimate sheet for your property, what you think it could be worth, what a potential model could be on your monthly payment when you're looking at a 55 plus community. Like we call that a payment estimation. We can go over those models for you and kind of work backwards from the ideal solution. And if you want to consult with us, please reach out over 55nj@gmail.com. You can send a direct message, start a casual conversation, or if you want to set a time to speak on the phone, the website is over55nj.chat. My favorite website of all is over55nj.homes, where you can set up alerts, do some searches, and that brings up all the 55 plus communities. We have a place on our site where we segment between the apartments and the single family 55 plus community homes. So you can kind of definitely customize and go from there based on your criteria. So make it a great day. Again, thanks so much. We're very lucky. I can't believe our community has grown to 300 members already. We're very fortunate. We're very blessed to have you here. It's really awesome just to be here as a resource for you. And we're just getting started. So it's been a lot of fun for us. Truly a blessing. So again, thank you so much for reaching out. Thank you so much for watching. Please let us know if there's anything we can help you with. And we'll see you again next week. Thanks so much.